And that's one of the most critical things that people don't have is a plan to go look at when things go crazy and go weird. Where do you go? You go back to your map or what your plan was. And if there's no plan to go back to, I don't know what you do. And so
Right.
first
Scary.
thing to do is get one, right? Welcome to Wealth Creator Radio, where we help people overcome the uncertainty of having enough retirement income. I'm your host, Eric Heckman, a certified financial planner with over 30 years of experience. We want you to enjoy life and not have to wonder where your money will come from and how long it'll last. My mission is to show you how to develop a personalized income plan so you can retire more and have worry less wealth. Here at Wealth Creator Radio, we cut through the noise and get straight to what matters. We understand that the world of retirement planning can be filled with confusing products, ever-changing tax laws, and volatile markets. That's why we're here to help successful people like you navigate the uncertainty and create a blueprint for a thriving, work-optional life.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Luann Fulmer, and if you have been to the gas pumps lately or the grocery store, you are feeling it, right? The conflict in Iran is sending oil prices through the roof, and then, of course, we're experiencing all those effects on our wallets. It's hitting our wallets pretty hard. So Eric Heckman is here today. He's founder of Heckman Financial, and he's going to help us figure out what this could mean for your money in retirement. Now, before we dive into everything today, I want to share an important opportunity. This is one that can help you find real confidence in times like what we're experiencing right now. You can call Heckman Financial right now for a complimentary retirement stress test. This is a no cost, no obligation, okay? Just like always, but it is only available for a limited time. 800-454-1184 is the number to call, or you could text the word visit to that number. Start feeling more confident about your retirement. Again, our number, 800-454-1184. You can call that number or text the word visit to that number. Also, you're going to hear us talk about the digital toolbox that you can get from Eric today. This includes the book that he has written, Blueprint to Worryless Wealth, and a bunch of other wonderful resources for your retirement. You may call or text Toolbox to 800-454-1184. So Eric is a certified financial planner right here in Silicon Valley and here to help you with your retirement. So Eric, so good to be here with you today.
Yeah, well, let's get into it. Yeah, a lot going on, right?
I know we do. Okay, so let's just start with the obvious. Gas prices are up, okay? And if you have to buy diesel fuel, oh my gosh, those prices are even higher. How bad is the inflation threat for people nearing retirement?
Well, it's not just anybody nearing retirement; it's anybody right out there.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
obviously, when you're nearing retirement and you're switching to having more of a stable income and not going to get pay raises and other things, you need to make sure that income's increasing over time because we all know inflation's all going to go up all the time. But yeah, right now it's definitely jumping up a lot more. And every time some truck drives something someplace or somebody ships something someplace, it's getting more expensive, right? So not just, what you're paying for to fill up your own car, but it's, stuff that you buy, right? And,
Yeah.
even if you go to a restaurant, where did all their stuff come from, right? I mean, it's going to go throughout everything. Anything that's getting moved around is going to be affected by energy prices. And we're all going to be feeling it. And, it's no fun, right? So.
No fun. Now, it's interesting. This past year, we have been hoping that our Federal Reserve would cut interest rates, right? But now it looks like they might actually raise them. So what's going on here?
Yeah, well, we've already seen mortgage rates go up, treasury rates go up. Those are market forces. Those are not, manipulated forces, right, from the Fed or something. So, those rate, decreases. I don't see how they could do it with such an inflation threat. And this is something that was very, first of all, avoidable, right? If you don't start a war, you don't have this thing go on. And it's something that's very predictable. You start a war with a country that does a lot of oil stuff. Hey, guess what? Things are going to get more expensive. So, this is something that was self-inflicted to ourselves. So, it's something that we're going to have to now deal with. So, higher interest can help savers, but definitely doesn't help people who owe money.
Right. Yeah, that's for sure. So, okay, we have talk of high inflation and a slowing economy. So what should our main focus be right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's always just, look towards the future, right? Do you need the money now or not? If you don't need those funds right now, most of this isn't going to be a big deal to your, portfolio. But if you're, a couple years from retirement, or sadly enough, there's already been a lot of layoffs, and I had somebody get laid off about a week ago here, and well, the last time we'd met, he said, if I get laid off, I guess I'm retired, and so
Oh, wow.
and
Yeah.
that's I would say almost, I don't know, probably I should probably keep numbers on it, but I would say probably in the 1/4% of my clients range at least get laid off into retirement, if not more. And
Hmm.
and of course, if we get a slowing economy, we get more layoffs. Yeah, all of a sudden, you may have been thinking you're, a couple years from retirement, and then now all of a sudden you're laid off and hard
Yeah.
to get a job, and so you may end up
Yeah.
just being retired, and where you didn't think you're going to need the money soon, now you're going to need it. And so, again, you want to have some money guaranteed, some money protected from loss, because especially right now, if things get worse and uglier, you want to lock in those gains that we've had over the last couple of years. Even if the market's down some right now, if you look back over the last 12 months, you should be up pretty nicely still. So it's still a good time to lock in those gains and, and protect those. But again, it takes a plan. You have to know what's going on. You have to have that personalized income plan. And that's one of the most critical things that people don't have, is a plan to go look at when things go crazy and go weird. Where do you go? You go back to your, your map, or what your plan was. And if there's no plan to go back to, I don't know what you do. And so
Right. Yeah.
first thing to
Scary.
do is get one, right? So that's why we set up our digital toolbox. We've got digital download in there for, will my money last as long as I do? Am I paying too much tax in retirement? Social security timing decisions, and a copy of my book, Worry Less Wealth, and also a way to set a time to talk to anybody here at Team Heckman. So all you got to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or click the link below.
And remember, our show comes out as a podcast every Tuesday morning. You can find that wherever you listen to your podcast. Just search for Wealth Creator Radio. You can also find us on YouTube as well. And remember, you can always find us online at wealthcreatorradio.com. So thank you for spending part of your day with us today. And if you're just joining us, we're talking with Eric about the economic fallout from the Iran conflict and how this could impact your retirement savings. So, Eric, some economists are saying there's about a 50% chance of a recession this year. Let's say if someone listening has $500,000 or more saved, how concerned should they be?
Well, I mean, if they're about to retire, that's really where you, like, again, that's, it's always when you're taking out the money, right? The ups and downs, like my son's in their 20s, if they're looking at their retirement plan, none of this matters, right? They got 30, 40 years before they're going to be touching any of that money. So, it's not a big deal. But if you're late 50s, early 60s, and you might be 3 or 4 or 5 years from retirement, or one layoff away from retirement, then it does matter. Or if you are retired, it's very critical, because if all of a sudden, recession or things start going backward, stock prices start dropping, values drop, lots of things are going on. Lots of times that's triggered by inflation and higher costs. So, you get more spending and less investment, value. That's not good. You don't want us to have to spend more money and have less money at the same time. So,
Right.
and again, it depends on how you have your assets structured. You want to have some money and stuff that can't go away. So usually about 20-30% of your money, when you're in that retirement zone, that's when you really, really want to make sure that, you've got some that won't go down every time the markets are going down. And that way you can live off that money. You also want probably a good 10-20% that's paying good dividends and interest. So that way you got some cash flow coming out every month, and you're not having to sell shares every month. So yeah, it's all about having a good plan.
Right. Now, what would you say is one of the biggest mistakes you've seen people make when the economy does get rocky like this?
Well, obviously emotional decisions, right? Bailing out at the wrong time. And then when do you bail back in or jump back in, right? It's really hard to time both of those decisions perfectly. So, so that'd be the big part. And, and then just overreacting, so yeah, you want to pay attention, but you don't want to freak out, right? You don't
Right.
want to
Right.
go all the cash. And see if it, how it goes and not make much money. Right. So, but again, having a plan fixes all this. So if you want to get some information about how to develop your plan, all you got to do is, get access to our digital toolbox. And you can do that by getting those great downloads, a copy of my book, all by texting the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Again, text word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or click the link below.
Would you rather pay more or less in taxes? If you want to pay more, don't do anything. If you want to pay less, talk to Eric Heckman to see what's possible for you. 800-454-1184. That's 800-454-1184.
Hi there, Luann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman of Heckman Financial, where their mission is to help you get to and through a worry-less wealth retirement. So you might think legacy planning is for people who have the big mansions, right? And maybe even bigger bank accounts. But you have to think again, because it's really about preparing for life's curveballs and protecting your loved ones, no matter what your bank account size is. So, Eric, let's go ahead and start with the basics. Tell us, why is estate planning so important for everyone, no matter what their financial situation?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's quite simple. You built up this stuff, and you want your stuff to go to somebody you like, right? So,
Yeah. And no.
and no, more importantly, all right, yeah, and you don't want it to go to lawyers, court fees, and probate fees, other things, and you also don't want people to, I don't know what's the best way, but
Fight?
Well, no, one thing's fighting, over assets, but I was gonna say the other part would be to just not thinking ill of you afterwards because they went through such a hellish time trying to, get all this stuff done.
Right.
Because I mean, I tell
Yeah, good
people
point.
if things are in good order, it's a lot of work to settle somebody's estate. If things are in bad order, oh my gosh, it can be really a full-time job. So yeah, you do really want to make sure, not only things are easy to handle and take care of, reduce the stress down. But yeah, and then like you said, also, not hopefully get into conflict over stuff.
Right. Yeah. And we've all heard those stories, and you've even shared some of those with us,
Mhm.
as far as selling an estate. Tell us some of the most common problems that you have seen when a plan is outdated, or like you said, just simply doesn't exist and makes it hard for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, some stuff can be just, really bad stuff that could have been, simply fixed, which would be just things like beneficiary. We just had a client unfortunately pass away last year that, his ex girlfriend, they weren't ever legally married or something, but, she was still beneficiary on one account. And
it was an ex.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Ex-girlfriend.
And they'd
Yeah.
been, I think, separated for about 5 years.
Okay.
Another one was going to his mom, who's, still actually alive. So at least that part's
Okay.
positive, but she's in
Okay.
her, I think, 90s.
Oh, wow.
So that'll probably just get resent to somebody else really
Yeah.
quickly. So,
Yeah.
that wasn't the same as his other beneficiaries, or, some of these accounts. And, so some of that stuff is just, having the right beneficiaries, because that's a simple, easy one. That's just one stroke of a pen or filling out something online lots of times and stuff. So that can be easy enough to do. And then, lots of times people just don't have stuff set up. So, they think they've got all these beneficiaries, and then, okay, you got a house. Well, do you have a trust? No. Well, then there's no beneficiary, which means you have to open probate, which means you have to go to court and you have to pay lawyer fees and costs. And, I think it's usually around 1% to 2% typically right now is the cost of settling the estate. And that's the gross value of the house. That's not your equity in the house. So,
Okay.
which is even worse, right? Because you're paying a fee based on money, you might have to pay a loan off on. So, yeah, so it can get pretty ugly pretty fast if you don't have things set up.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Now, let's get into taxes, because, people always hear horror stories about the death tax, right? I'm like, how could we have even passed a law about a death tax? But anyway, how do tax strategies fit into this conversation?
Yeah, well, I mean, for most people nowadays, right now we're at 15 million per person. If you're a married couple, so most of us, unfortunately, aren't aren't over that limit when we
That's
pass
true.
away. So most people aren't really paying much on estate or death tax type stuff. The amazing thing of the tax code is when somebody passes away, you get a step up in basis on all regular assets. So, yeah, somebody may have bought a house for 100 grand and it's worth 1.5 million now, and they pass away and no taxes due on that. Had they sold it, they may have paid three, four, 500,000 in tax. So a
Okay.
lot of taxes actually go away, except for retirement accounts, which of course for a lot of people are one of their biggest assets. And, those retirement accounts now, if it goes that next generation down, it's 10 years. You got to take all that money out and pay all the tax. So that could be a pretty big hit in terms of taxes
Yeah.
because, you got everything else tax free, but then all of a sudden you get all this taxable income on top of your normal income. So that's getting the highest marginal tax brackets possible. And there's no way to get around that. You just got to take it out within 10 years. So
Didn't used to be that way. It
no,
used to be your lifetime.
yeah, it
Yeah.
used to be, really for most people, 20 to 35 years. And so, yeah,
Mhm.
it's a lot faster, which means a lot higher tax hit. So that's another thing people need to be watching out for sure.
Right. So if anybody has questions about these, tax strategies that we're talking about, or even legacy planning, this is what you and your team focus on. I mean, it's a major part of your plan, your blueprint to worry less wealth.
Yeah.
So people can give you a call and set up an appointment and come in and see you and talk about everything from legacy planning to, just even, income and investing, tax strategies, even healthcare, right? It's a full plan.
Yeah, no, yeah. So certainly we go through the 5 areas, which are income, investments, taxes, healthcare, and legacy. And you really have to have all the five of those areas dialed in to have a successful retirement and, successful passing, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Make sure your legacy
Mhm.
goes on to who you want it to go to. And so that's some of the things that we can help people with. Yeah. And the easiest way for them to take advantage of that, you can do it on, we can do it phone, Zoom, in person, whatever. But easy way is just text the word visit to 800-454-1184. You can text the word visit 800-454-1184 or click the link below.
And we thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Luann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman. And everything we're talking about here, it does seem so complex, right? And I think that's why a lot of people don't do anything because it's just overwhelming. So tell us, Eric, how you and Team Heckman help your clients simplify all this and just get started. Someone calls us from radio or from watching us. How do you help people get started?
Yeah, well, like I said, the very first thing in the blueprint process is really to develop that income plan. Where's your money going to come from? Once you retire, for the rest of your life with inflation, taxes, everything calculated in. And then, of course, you have to look at your investments. How are those, structured? Are those going to put off enough income? Are they, have they been kind of changed to produce more income? Because you need to be doing that. Do you have some of that money guaranteed and protected from loss? Because there's going to be those bad years. Always will be, right? And you got to be prepared for those in retirement. And then healthcare, pre 65, post 65. And then lastly, legacy. That's making sure everything's structured right. Those accounts are in the right names. Sometimes I run across people who've done the trust, but they didn't put any accounts in the trust. And so it's like, well, it's like a funnel with nothing going in it. It's not very useful. So, so that's where we help them do that too. We actually have a cool new software program, even with clients. If they want to do their, the trust on their own, they can even do that through us. So there's a lot of great ways to get it done. But yeah, it's just a matter of taking that time and getting the things done that you have to get done.
Right. Now, for someone, let's say, who already has a plan, but they're listening or watching us, maybe having questions, talk about the real value of getting a second opinion. You guys do that as well.
Yeah, well, lots of times, people are working with, I find, really investment managers and not really retirement planners. So they're doing maybe some of these big firms that like to go fishing. We'll just say it like that. Or some of these other companies out there, and they're great on investment management, but they're not really focused on how to lower your lifetime taxes, how to make sure everything's structured for withdrawal, and that's the big difference when you retire. So you really need to have that all dialed in and ready to go. So yeah, that is our only focus, is really helping people make that shift into retirement. So again, if you want to set a time to talk with us, there's no cost, no obligation. All you got to do is text the word visit to 800-454-1184. Again, text word visit 800-454-1184 or click the link below.
Do you know whether your retirement plan has any weak points? Discover ways on giving your financial future the proper tune-up. Simply go online to wealthcreatortoolbox.com to gain a better understanding in taxes, Social Security, and other ways to manage your portfolio. That's wealthcreatortoolbox.com.
Welcome back. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman of Heckman Financial. Eric has been helping retirees just like you have remarkable retirements. In fact, he's been doing this for the past 30 years. So if you have questions, he definitely has answers. I think Eric, you've seen everything, haven't you?
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're discussing legacy planning right now and ways to help you avoid some common mistakes that can be both costly in terms of money and then emotionally. So Eric, over these past 30 years, you have seen a lot of plans. Tell us what some of the most common blunders are that people make when it comes to planning their estate.
Well, probably the simplest thing is just nothing, right? If you don't do anything, that's a pretty bad blunder. Yes, retirement accounts, life insurance, annuities, those all have beneficiaries. So even if you've done nothing, hopefully you wrote something on those lines. But your bank accounts, your investment accounts, your house, all of that, who's going to get that, right?
Yeah, I got to tell you, my husband forgot to put me as a beneficiary on our bank accounts. Like he didn't have me on there and he realized that. And I'm like, then we went to the bank and added me to him. But yeah, I mean, look, that's just things you don't think about.
Yeah. And there's a lot of issues there. And of course, sometimes people do get things done and they get a trust, which is great. And some attorneys are good about at least changing your house title in the trust. Some aren't, but most are. And then a lot of them do this obnoxious thing where they list out your assets and they say these things are in the trust. Well, they're not in the trust. I can't type up a piece of paper and have it signed and say that your Fidelity account's all of a sudden in my name, and nobody else can do that either. So, if you got an account at Fidelity, you got to go change it into the trust or your Schwab or wherever it's at, right? I mean, just you saying it's in the trust, it is not in the trust. You actually have to have the account name in the trust. And I don't know why attorneys put that piece of paper in there because it's super dated, right? After 5 or 10 or 15 years, those companies may have merged, changed names, may have moved accounts, stuff like that. So, and then just checking on beneficiaries every so often. I mean, when TD got taken over by Schwab, there was a lot of beneficiary stuff that all of a sudden got dropped. I've seen that with 401ks where people stay at the same company, but their 401k provider changes and all of a sudden the 401k beneficiary went away. Just bad data entry, right? Or merging of data and stuff. So you want to check on that too. And, and of course you can't just depend on stuff that you did 20, 30 years ago. I mean, I don't know how many times I meet with somebody and their kids are in their 30s and they still have guardians named, right? Because it's like, well, okay, if you still have guardians listed and your kids in their 30s, time to update your info because that means you did it way over 10 years ago. So
exactly. That happened with my husband and I too. Same thing. Our kids were in our 30s and we're like, I don't think Aunt Patty's going to be taking care of my kids anymore. So we finally changed that. But I think we often think of legacy planning in terms of what happens after someone has passed. Okay. But Eric, tell us how proper planning can make a difference during a person's lifetime.
Yeah, well, I mean, lots of times people think, living trust is just for for when you're gone. But one of the biggest things is, if all of a sudden the Amazon van runs you over and you're in the hospital, and you're not able to, pay your bills and do stuff, who can legally go in your checking account and do that? Who can, if you're over 59 and a half, who can be taking money out of your IRAs for you? Or even worse, if you have required minimum distribution, who's allowed to take those out for you? And then on the medical side, who can, make medical decisions? Because sometimes people have the medical part done, but not the financial. And so, you need to have all those done. And so usually when you're working with an attorney or somebody, usually you're going to have those durable power of attorney. You're going to have that, successor trustee, all those things set up. And I would probably say at any given time, we have at least 3 to 5 clients that are all power of attorneys for, usually for their parents or for a spouse. it's very, very common. So,
Right.
and it's easy to get when somebody's healthy. When somebody's not healthy, you're going to be paying a lot more because it's an
Yeah.
emergency basis. And of course, the attorney's going to jack up the rates, and, you're going to have court costs and other stuff because you have to go to court to get it and, instituted and all this stuff. So again, it's one of these things where it's a quick swipe of a pen early on and no problem. And it's a big problem if it's not done.
Exactly. So, Eric, let's talk about family dynamics. How can a well-structured plan help prevent, the conflict and the resentment that you've seen tear families apart?
Yeah, I mean, it can be kind of lots of crazy stuff. I mean, one I always like to point out is just the sentimental stuff. I've seen more crazy stuff about that, somebody's painting or somebody's quilt or whatever, just simply asking, hey, is there anything you want when I'm gone?
Mhm.
That's a simple thing. And then that would save a lot of stuff. Now, if three of your three kids all say the same thing, okay, well, then, then I don't know, donate it to
I don't
Goodwill and
know.
don't let any of
Yeah,
them get, no, I don't know.
I know.
But yeah. And then sometimes people do weird stuff where they'll say, okay, this person gets this house and this person gets this house and this person gets this cabin we have. But they're all different values. And so then it doesn't seem very equal, right? And then maybe one wants that one and one wants the other one. And so again, sometimes it's good to ask them about these things before you kind of impose that, or even worse, everybody gets a third and there's no provision for maybe the person who's living there. Like right now, I've got somebody was taking care of the mom. Mom passed away, and it's a family from India, and it was a male dominant system. So
Yeah.
they left the house to the two brothers who have their own houses, and so the person who's lived there for taking care of mom and for years now has to go find a new place
Mm.
to live and doesn't have money for a house, and so
Oh my
you know,
gosh.
is that
Interesting.
really in the best interest of everybody, right? Yeah, and
Yeah.
such. So, do you have to get
Hmm.
moved out right away, or what's the timeline, and all those kind of things? So yeah, so
Yeah.
you want to have all those things written down, but again, it all comes up with a plan. So, one of the things we built here at Heckman Financial is a digital online toolbox where people can get a lot of great, really quick reads. Things like will my money last as long as I do? Social Security timing decision, a copy of my book, Worry Less Wealth, and a way to set a time to talk with us. So all you got to do is text word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text word toolbox 800-454-1184, or click the link below.
Yeah. And then also remember our show is available on podcasts. Okay. So every Tuesday it comes out on podcast. So wherever you get your podcasts, even on YouTube, search for Wealth Creator Radio. Thank you for joining us. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. And Eric, according to a recent survey, it showed that really only a small percentage of Americans actually have an estate plan. So in your experience, why? Why do so many people put it off?
Yeah, it's that whole mortality. Nobody likes to talk about when you're going to be gone,
Hmm.
right? When you're going to
Yeah.
die, and I do find some weird times. I've had people where like the spouse is flying internationally for business or something, and all of a sudden they want to get things done, or they want to review life insurance. That it is kind of funny when people all of a sudden freak out about something, and then they care, or the flip side, they just had some people pass away and then they've heard bad stories. So now they found, but again, it shouldn't be that. Unfortunately, it should be, yeah, I should have this stuff done, right? It's kind of like brushing your teeth or going to the dentist or
Yes,
exercise, and,
yes.
kind of
Yeah.
some stuff where you should just do it. You don't have to do it all
Yeah.
the time. Every 5 or 10 years is probably fine to update it. Obviously, if there's big life changes, people get married or other things, you might want to change stuff in there. And yeah, just getting it done is so critical because of it's a mess if people don't have this ready and if people don't have it set up. And yeah, I've just had so many different things over the years. So again, if you want to get a little bit more information, we've got some great downloads. Part of the book, Worry Less Wealth, goes into legacy in depth and options there.
Mhm.
So all you got to do to get access to that is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text word toolbox 800-454-1184, or click the link below.
Be sure to like and subscribe to Wealth Creator Radio so you can stay up to date on ways to build your wealth and create a retirement you and your family will enjoy for years to come. Like and subscribe today and create your wealth for tomorrow with Wealth Creator Radio.
Hi, I'm Luann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman. He's president of Heckman Financial. He's also the author of the book Worry Less Wealth, which is something that you can get complimentary. All you have to do is just text the word toolbox to our number 800-454-1184. You can get that book and a bunch of other educational materials. Very helpful for your retirement. So, all right, Eric, we are going to bring you some retiree questions again, okay? And then I'm going to do a lightning round of questions for you to just think fast personally. And we're going to kind of get to know you a little more with some fun little questions I'm going to ask you. But first, I want to start with a retiree question. And this first one is, and I know you do get this all the time, how do I figure out how much I'll have to pay in taxes in retirement?
It's easy. It's a lot. No, just kidding.
Well, it could be. It could
So with a personalized income plan, and at least with our software, we actually do look at not just your taxes year by year, but we look at your lifetime taxes, which is a scary number, by the way, and kind of depressing. But once we look at that number and we say, okay, if we make some changes here, does that number go down, right? And if that number goes down, that's a good thing because, yeah, obviously more money in your pocket is a lot better than more money in Uncle Sam's pocket. So that's one of the things that you really need to be doing. If your financial advisor is not helping estimate and lower your lifetime taxes, I think you're really missing the boat. And I find most tax people don't do that either. So, it is a critical thing because it's one of the biggest levers. Between spending and taxes are probably the two biggest effects on your retirement. How much money you make is probably third or fourth.
Wow. Huh.
So
interesting. Yep. Okay. And in that toolbox is that blueprint to your retirement. And that's where you talk about, tax strategies in retirement. All right. Here is another question for you. And kind of along what you just said, how do I know if I've saved enough for retirement? It maybe isn't top on the list, but I bet you get that question a lot.
No, that's a pretty big one. And yeah, it's kind of piggybacks on, will my money last as long as I do, right? That's kind of the two sides of the same issue. And so, yeah, it's really the only way is having a personalized income plan, one that's designed for your specific situation. So knowing first and foremost, the real number, how much you spend. So again, do that no BS budget, take those last 12 months of bank statements, divide by 12, all the withdrawals. And that's the real number of what you spent. And I probably guarantee you it's 20 to 40% higher than you think. And sometimes a little shocking. But once you know that number, then you can look at your assets and say, okay, if I'm living off that much money with inflation, taxes, everything you calculated, will it last as long as I do? If it runs out when you're 75 versus 95, well, those are obviously very different situations. And yeah, you kind of need to do a lot more planning or change some things if it's running out 75. 95, probably okay. But that's one of the critical pieces of the planning for retirement is really having and knowing what that personalized income plan is going to be, because then you know how much you can spend. And if you start spending too much, you also know you're spending too much, which you need to know way sooner than later.
Right. I love how you come alongside people. You can kind of be their guardrail and also give them that clarity, almost. Yeah.
And sometimes have to not yell at them in a nice way, but just kind of like a coach, right? Say, you're spending way too much money. So
reel it in.
Yep.
Back it up. All right. Here's another retiree question, and I think this is a good one. What are some of my options for income in retirement? Talk about that.
Yeah, well, most of us don't have a pension anymore, so the only kind of lifetime income we pretty much get is Social Security, which, we know there's issues there too. Something will always be there, but it might be reduced at some point. And so, now it's back to you, right? It's all on you. It's not, your company's not going to take care of you. Nobody else is going to take care of you. And likely your kids might not even take care of you, right? So, how are you going to do that? And so there are some great products out there, what I call foundational income type monies, where the principal is guaranteed, but it can pay you some good withdrawals or even pay you a guaranteed income stream for life and setting up your own kind of pension, your own kind of, social security, but my security or whatever you want to call it. Right. That's, I think, critical nowadays because, you need to have that money. You need to have some money that is going to be there year in, year out and without fail, without market volatility and all the other craziness stuff that you have to, go through.
Okay, and then a real quick one here, and we don't know enough about this, I don't think, all of us. What do I do with my 401k after I retire?
Yeah, well, typically you want to roll that to an IRA, individual retirement account, and kind of combine all your accounts into that format. And then from there, that's where you're going to start figuring out how much can I take out, maybe doing some tax planning. Should I be doing some Roth conversions along the way? Again, that's one of those pieces of the puzzle of how am I going to live for the rest of my life with this money. So that could be money that you move into some of these foundational assets. So, the hard part about this is it's always one answer, and it's the answer that, well, I guess it is a 4-letter word, called plan.
Yeah,
right? You need to have a plan. And, nobody likes that. It's a lot more fun to spend, a lot more fun to do vacation plans than it is to do a financial plan.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get that financial plan right, you can probably get a lot more vacations. So, take the time out and really take care of yourself. So, one of the things with the blueprint to worry less wealth, that's what we do is we first and foremost go through after we had that first discovery call that we do with you, the worry less wealth call. We set up another time to say, okay, well, where is your income plan? Well, let's look at where you're headed. Let's look at where your investments are. Are they positioned to give you that income? What's the tax ramifications? What's the healthcare issues along the way? And then, of course, legacy. Who gets your money when you're gone? So those are the 5 areas that everybody really needs to have a plan for. And, that's what we do when we sit down and talk with somebody. So, again, if you want to set up that time to do that, we've got a link inside our digital toolbox to do that. We also have a lot of other great information. Will my money last as long as I do? The Social Security decision. So lots of great stuff. All you have to do to get access to all that is just text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
All right. And this is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. We're going to take a few minutes now and do a little lightning round for Eric, ask him a bunch of questions, get to know him a little more. So we're going to go 2 minutes, Eric. Okay. And I am going to start the timer now. And here's my first question. What is your biggest industry frustration?
Probably financial advisors who don't do taxes and then tax people who don't do financial stuff. Those two need to be combined.
Right. Okay. Favorite TV show of all time?
Of all time?
I guess.
That's a tougher one.
I know.
I don't know. I used to watch MASH a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I guess I could throw that one in.
MASH. Love it. Do you have a favorite color?
Just like our logo, green.
I love it. Green. And color you wear the most? Same thing?
No, oddly enough. So, green's a little tougher sometimes to pull off. So
yeah. What do you wear
I
the
don't
most?
know. Probably I always have a suit on, so either black or blue.
Black.
So
Oh, nice. Okay. And then how many pets do you guys have?
just one dog. He's really old, but
What's his name?
He still moves. Jax.
Oh, what kind?
He was a rescue dog, so
Aw.
Lhasa Poo or something like that.
Oh, cute. Love that. What is your go-to late night snack?
Try never to do that anymore. So don't try to eat after 8 or 9.
Okay.
So
Good job.
although sometimes I'll have frozen bananas. Those are good healthy snacks.
Get you. Okay. First job.
Well, my first illegal job was painting houses at 14 for a painting contractor. Got money under the table, but my first official job was working at what was Raging Waters, and now it's called Calibunga. But it was a water park.
Oh, fun. Okay. Favorite sports team.
Sadly, the San Jose Sharks, but we'll see if
Sharks.
that improves.
Okay. Last one. Financial advice you would hope your kids never forget.
Probably pay yourself first. You'll never end up having extra money, so you got to pay yourself first, because the extra money never shows up. So if you wait till I have extra money, it ain't gonna happen. So yeah, no, I mean, and that's why we've set up again all these great downloads in our digital toolbox. So again, if you want to get access to that link and get access to some of these, they're about 10 to 15 pages. They're really great information, pretty jargon free, pretty quick reads. So All you have to do is text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Imagine for a moment that an intense storm is pounding your house. Will the roof leak? Will the siding peel away? Will your basement flood? If your house is properly built and maintained, you'll be fine. But what about your 401k or your investments? The stock market has had a great run the last few years, but is its current turmoil making you feel uneasy? Are you confident your portfolio is built to weather the financial storm? Now may be a great time to have your retirement plan inspected. Call Eric Heckman of Heckman Financial at 800-454-1184 now. Eric will examine your portfolio and show you if your investments are in need of some weatherproofing. Call Eric Heckman of Heckman Financial today at 800-454-1184. That's 800-454-1184. Investment advisory services offered through Heckman Financial Insurance Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor.
Hi, I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman. So happy to have you spending your day with us today. And, on our show, Eric and I always talk about challenges and risks that exist in retirement. And now Eric is going to give us an example of someone who has experienced one of those retirement obstacles. So I always love this, Eric. It's a story that you tell to help us kind of learn what not to do. So we're going to ask you to tell us about a financial fail today.
Yeah, so this is we'll just call him Fred, but this is somebody who I met with quite some time back, and he was thinking he was going to work till maybe 70 and such, and he'd always funded his his 401k up to the max, and just kept putting more money away. So it seemed like he was doing the right things, but unfortunately, he got laid off in the '08 meltdown, right? When the market was down and a lot of companies were having issues. He couldn't get a job after that. He was a sales guy, high-tech sales guy.
Mhm.
And, it took me, I think, about 3 years of meeting with him before he finally said, yeah, I guess I'm retired. Because he
Aw.
couldn't find a job, sadly enough. And,
Yeah.
he wanted to work longer. I mean, he started doing some odd jobs, working here and there and doing some stuff just to get a little bit of, pocket money kind of stuff. But he was not getting the income that he used to get. This was stuff that, he was competing with 20-year-olds for these types
Right,
of jobs,
right,
type
yeah.
of thing. So, or probably wasn't even competition, right? If you move, they'll hire you types of those places. And then, the other problem was, when we first met, he wasn't doing anything with a lot of his assets, and we could have converted a lot of those. But then when he finally started, working with us, then he was starting to work some, but he'd missed a couple of years of really having no income, and he could have been converting some pretty decent money to Roth IRA, because if you don't have much income, you get a standard deduction, you get so much things. So a lot of times people don't realize that, like, your standard deduction, that means zero tax till you hit that number. And, he was getting a little bit of Social Security at some point there. He turned it on. But we could have done a lot better planning and a lot more stuff. But he was kind of mostly through this time frame, and stuff, such, when he really wanted to start doing tax planning, because he kept going, oh, no, I'm the work. So let's
Yeah.
not do any of these conversions. And I'm going to get my new job. And,
Oh.
and so that, that's the hard part. Is lots of times, I see this all the time, that people plan on working a lot later. Although I must admit, I was meeting recently with a client, and she was saying, well, I plan to work till this specific age, but she's like, but it's high tech. They might get rid of me before then, and if they do, I'll just retire then.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Huh.
I think you have to kind of have that mentality nowadays,
I think so.
because especially there's not supposed to be an age bias, but yes, there is.
There is.
Yeah, there's definitely. So so that's one of the issues, and then the other one is not paying attention to the taxes all the time. I mean, there's every year you need to be doing tax planning, and tax planning, by the way, is done in October, November of that calendar year. That's when that year is still up and running, and you can make changes. You cannot do tax planning in April. Everything was already done. It's already over. There's nothing you can do. You're just reporting at the scene of the crime. So, again, so two things. Watch, you may not be able to pick when you retire. And secondly, yeah, you got to be doing the tax planning every year. Thank you for tuning in to Wealth Creator Radio. I'm Eric Heckman, and it's been a pleasure guiding you towards a more confident and secure retirement. Remember, my responsibility is to always do what's right for you, our client. Together, we can cut out that fancy-sounding financial jargon that doesn't help and focus on what truly matters for your financial future. If you're ready to take control of your retirement planning and build a personalized income plan, contact us at 800-454-1184 and text the word Toolbox to schedule a complimentary consultation. If you're looking for more resources and tools to build your retirement future, don't forget to check out that Wealth Creator Toolbox, your toolkit for a secure and confident retirement journey. Until next time, retire more and worry less with Wealth Creator Radio.
Information provided during Wealth Creator Radio is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. Eric Heckman offers investment advisory services through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Any tax advice given as part of this presentation is not intended to be used and cannot be used by the taxpayer for the purpose of avoiding tax penalties or promoting, marketing, or recommending to another party any matter or transaction addressed herein. The views and opinions expressed in the program are not necessarily those of the radio station or its sponsors, and they should not construe as legal, tax, or investment advice. You should always consult the appropriate advisor before making any financial decision.